Heyo, this is take 2 because I thought I was recording a reading just before, and then my damn medication notification came through and it stopped the recording, and I didn't think to check, and so 15 minutes of the recording was not recorded. So here we are again. For anyone that hasn't been here before, my name is Sin. I am an Aboriginal person from the Stolen Lands, colonially known as Australia, and I am agender, and I am asexual, and I am an AuDHD'r, and I also have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, so I can be a bit all over the place. But here we go. Today I'm going to do a shadow healing reading, take 2 of it. Let's see what cards we get out this time. The last reading I'm really disappointed didn't record because it was a good one, but that's what you get. I can cry over it, or I can just get on and fucking do it again. So let me just split the deck. Whoa. And let's see what we get this time, if we get any repeaters. I'll let you know if any repeating messages come through from the one that I've already done that didn't completely record. I mean, but already with the splitting of the deck, I'm getting some different messages. So let's see. Let's just see. Okay, let's see what comes out. Let's have a look at what's lurking beneath the surface. Before I keep going, yesterday, I didn't do a reading yesterday, but I woke up yesterday with, of all people, a Guy Sebastian song in my head, Battle Scars. And today I woke up with Glitter by Nairi, but just a specific part of the song. If it glitters, it's not gold, it's not a green light, to go. I don't know if that's going to be relevant for anyone today, but there we go. Maybe some of you have got something that looks a bit fancy in front of you, but it's not actually in alignment with you. Maybe some of you are in a space of heart space avoidance. Maybe those scars, the scar tissue is just like building up something that's a bit hard to break through. But let's see. But Guy Sebastian, why Guy Sebastian, Sin? Why? Why? It's probably haunting me from my early 20s when I really liked Australian Idol, and I went to a few of the recordings. I also went to a few Big Brother evictions, so they were fun times. They were fun times. I used to go up to Queensland to catch up with friends, and then we would do Dream World and a Big Brother eviction, and then go and get off our faces. So yeah, maybe those songs are messages for me. Who knows? I'll think about it later. Okay, first card we have out is Relentless Craving. Addiction is a prison disguised as freedom. So, we can be addicted to lots of things. I prefer to call it misuse. Addiction does not come, and misuse does not come from nowhere. It comes from very deep places within us. From my own personal experience, I began my healing journey, which I've only just realized this is when I began my healing journey, was when I entered medical detox and rehab 24 years ago. I was undiagnosed ADHD, self-medicating with uppers, and it was a bit out of control. But then more recently realizing, due to a lack of trust in myself, I was still propping myself up with weed, thinking that I could not manage my own emotional regulation, my own nervous system regulation. I think a lot of the early information that I read on complex post-traumatic stress disorder is that it's not curable. And I'm not saying it is curable, but I am saying it can get to a point where it is manageable. Anyway, I reevaluated my use of weed and I stopped smoking for a while until I realized I have incredible sensory overload late in the day. I tend to be pretty active in the mornings, and my brain is processing things better, a bit freer, clearer. And then as the day progresses, I start to have more sensory issues. And so this really became heightened when I stopped smoking weed completely. So I am back smoking weed to manage my sensory overload in the afternoons, because just a little bit of side info, because I did enter medical detox and rehab 24 years ago. There is a lot of complications around me getting stimulant ADHD medication because of my misuse history. And quite frankly, I'm not the kind that wants to jump through hoops, and nor do I even feel confident, I guess is the right word, to start taking prescribed amphetamines. I literally haven't taken, I stopped taking cold and flu medication once I did rehab, because back in those days pseudoephedrine was still in cold and flu meds. And so yeah, like I have literally not done uppers for a really long time, and do I need them? Anyway, so the relentless craving, like I said, addictions come in all sorts of forms. You can have misuse of drugs, alcohol, sex, food, gambling, it doesn't discriminate. It really doesn't discriminate. But the root cause of addiction is trauma. All right? And yeah, like I just said, I was self-medicating with uppers for undiagnosed ADHD, but I have trauma from having undiagnosed AuDHD, as well as childhood trauma. So it was all a big blur. But anyway, let's see what else comes out. Shadow alchemy. Turn shadows into gold by shifting your awareness. So alchemy is the process of transformation within our spirit. I don't like the idea that everything happens for a reason. But I do think you can learn from everything. There's plenty of stuff that a lot of us should never have had to have gone through to heal from. But we can look at those wounds and learn how to be for ourselves what we need us to be for ourselves. Yeah? So we've got shadow alchemy. Let's see what else we get. I'll do an alchemy reading soon. I've got an alchemy deck, and we can do a bit of a collective alchemy read to see where everyone's kind of at in the process of their healing. We can kind of branch it out and see where the world is at in its alchemical process. But yeah, let's get 2 more cards out before I get into like getting some more information with tarot. We've got wounded healer. I'll talk about that one once I get the next card out. We'll do a bit of a chat about all of them. One more, please. And making peace. And on the bottom we have jumbled thoughts. So this is I guess the underlying energy that we can't see at the moment, is the mind can make a heaven of hell and a hell of heaven, confusion, anxiety, and escape. We might just leave that one out. I'm getting called to do that, so all right. So wounded healer, some of us are here because we know how to work our healing. Even when we're wounded ourselves, we know what other people need. And I guess the wounded healer reminds us that we are also healing ourselves, and that where the light enters, it's healing those shadow parts, right? And sometimes the light enters when you're extending a healing hand to somebody else. Making peace. Peace is a really hard thing to find in the world at the moment because of what's going on with multiple genocides happening all over the place. And this overwhelming feeling of disregard for humanity and those of us that believe that, well, we all have an inherent right to be here, and you shouldn't steal other people's land, and you shouldn't commit genocide, and you shouldn't be sending bombs, and the war machine should not have priority over health, education, and overall wellness of the society. But there are places in our own individual lives where we can find peace, and the place that we can find peace first and foremost is within ourselves. When we are at peace with us, who we are, and our place in the world, it's a game changer, because you're immovable. The narratives in the world will not shake who you are. They will just reinforce it, right? So making peace with ourselves. Let's pull some tarot clarifiers. I forgot to tell you, the deck of shadow healing I'm using is the Shadow Work. Is that gonna Shadow Work Oracle cards? I will link it in the description of the video. And the tarot that I'm using to clarify is Queer Tarot. I might just check the book every once in a while with Queer Tarot just to pronoun the characters in the cards correctly. But anyway, let's get some clarifiers. Around what needs to be worked on, what information, what advice there is for each of these shadow healing cards that might point to the area in your life that you might need to look at. But obviously, as a collective reading, this is going to fall, firstly, not resonate with everybody, and secondly, not every message will resonate with everybody, and thirdly, it's going to be reflected in different parts of the collective's lives. Yeah. And just a little reminder, I am not a fortune teller. I just read cards. And honestly, like, reading for myself is no fun anymore because I just keep getting the same messages through and through and through, and it's testing my patience. But I also think maybe I am opening up to doing more very varied readings as well. Like, I decided to just pigeonhole myself in the whole do healing and self-care general type readings. But occasionally I think there's going to be love readings come out because that's sometimes the energy that comes through. And look, we'll just see how we go with that. All right, let's get some more advice on the relentless craving. Relentless craving. What advice do we have for relentless craving? I normally wouldn't take this many, but they're all facing upwards, and the card that's showing to me is the Devil. And so that's telling me that this belongs here. So we're just going to tell a little story with these, all right? So in order to address the misuse or relentless craving that some of you are experiencing at the moment. The Devil card is showing up as that, right? And then we've got the Queen of Wands. It's saying to you, you need to find a creative way to release these cravings, these obsessive thoughts, these misuse of substances, misuse of anything that numbs the emotional body. That this is something that you can commit to and have celebrate about eventually, breaking free from this. But right now, you're feeling very much bound by your own thoughts. And the Eight of Swords is an interesting card because you see the character kind of bound and whatnot, but they're bound by themselves. They can get themselves free. So it's a space of, you're currently sitting here in this, I feel trapped, I feel imprisoned by my own thoughts. And I say thoughts because swords are air, and the air elements represent what goes on up here. And then we've got the Page of Swords. You are needing to observe yourself, observe your own behaviors, observe your own actions, observe the cycles that you have found yourself repeating over time. Seek out information that you need. Okay, now with Shadow Alchemy, let's have a look at what you might, what advice we can get for that one. Ace of Wands is really and look, we've got the Chariot underneath. So these are both cards of fire. Oh no, Chariot's water. But this is lining up really nicely because Ace of Wands is starting something new, feeling inspired. And with the Chariot, that's also about forward movement. Being that it's falls under Cancer, that's forward movement through the emotional world. Ace of Wands is new start, being inspired. So I guess it's asking for you to find some inspiration to start that journey through your emotional world and start alchemizing some of those shadows into gold. Because I think a lot of people don't realize is when you start doing your shadow work, yes, sometimes it feels like you're wading through sewage, and then all of a sudden you start to see little bits of That was hidden. Oh, actually, I remember that when I was a kid, being able to do that, you know, like, and having your shadow work reveals our gifts, you know. There's gold in the shadow work. And maybe that comes back to that Nairi song, if it glitters, it's not gold. And that's more talking about externally when we're looking at materialistic things. If it glitters, is it really the gold that we need? Is the gold that we need under the shadows, you know, like the who we are, our own gifts, our own life purposes, and all those kinds of things. So I might just leave that Chariot card there with that, because they tell a story together. Now let's see what information we can get on Wounded Healer. What advice can we get on the Wounded Healer shadow? Hanged Man. Okay, so that's telling you, that to take some time to see things from different perspectives. How your wounds show up isn't going to be how someone else's wounds show up, isn't going to be how someone else's wounds show up. How you heal isn't going to be how someone else heals. You know, we've all got to find our healing modalities that work for us. And we've all got to stop comparing our own wounds to other people's, because you may see that you haven't been through as much as someone else, but that person seems to be coping so much better. But I think it's understanding things from different perspectives and seeing that there's different life experiences that go into making up how people face things. The support that they've had, whether or not they've ever experienced being loved unconditionally, whether they've ever had a feeling of safety to know what safety feels like. All of those different kinds of things that you need to take into perspective from the Wounded Healer perspective, yeah? And with Page of Cups on the bottom, it's really telling me then that you, by looking at things from a different perspective, you're ready to provide gifts of love, small tokens of love that help other people in their healing journey, yeah? And let's get some clarifiers on making peace. And before anyone asks, yes, I am a staunch supporter of Palestine. Always was, always will be, because that's what Indigenous solidarity is. So if that's something that bothers you, there's plenty of other readers out there that you can go and get your readings from. This is clearly a specific collective for people that are looking to shift the collective consciousness away from the war machine, away from colonialism and imperialism, and forward into transformative liberation for everybody. Okay, so making peace, we've got, which that's very interesting. Let me just check what the pronouns are for this one. We got the Five of Swords, but in reverse. Five of Swords usually is about self-destructive behavior, defeat, loss, conflict, being swords, it's a lot of air energy, so it's a lot of internal conflict, self-sabotage, those kinds of things. But when it's in reverse, it's telling me that in order to make peace, you need to be prepared to move on from something. That any conflict that's happening for you, whether it's internal or external, is really getting under your skin right now. So it's time to, I guess, put the swords down and try and move into a place of peace within the adversity that's currently facing you. It's making a choice. 7 of Cups. A choice that's in alignment with your inner self. And that card is she, her. All right, now last one, jumbled thoughts. Gotta love the jumbled thoughts. I'm funny, like sometimes I think, oh wow, I doing really well with my thoughts. Doing really well, look at me go. And then it's like I find I catch myself like in this cycle of everything that can go wrong. Why would good things happen for me? But it's getting better. Working on my subconscious thoughts has been really good. When it comes to jumbled thoughts, one thing I've really found to be helpful is journaling. So when my thoughts are dysregulated, which hasn't been for a little while, but when they are dysregulated, getting them all out into my journal in my phone, just so they're not in my head anymore. And then I sit quietly and do breath work. If you have trouble with intrusive thoughts or quietening your mind, another tarot reader on here recommended humming. While you are concentrating on humming, you can't actually, the thoughts up there stop. So it's a good way to break up the motion of what's happening in here. Anyway, jumbled thoughts, what's come out? The advice is the Empress, and the Empress tells us if your thoughts are about wanting something, being anxious about something, the Empress really tells us to sit in your power, to bring out your nurturing side, to be open to receiving. The Empress does not chase things in their life. They let things come to them. So if you have thoughts around feeling like you have to take action on something or whatever, the Empress is really telling you to sit in your nurturing, energy with yourself. Nurture yourself. And on the bottom of the deck is the King of Pentacles, and the King of Pentacles is like pretty solid as far as practicalities in the material world. So, you know, as far as the Empress goes, sit in your nurturing thoughts and try and shift your focus to what you can control in your physical world to build that confidence and that sense of worth and belonging kind of thing. That's it for the shadow stuff, but I'm gonna pull a oracle card from my what deck is it, Crude Creatures, and just see if there's any fun information. see. Let's see what we get here. And then I'll close the reading out. Alright, we've got one that's flipped over. Elephant, nosy rememberer. Fucking listen is what it says. Let's see what the book says. Time to fucking listen. The universe has given you sign after sign, and yet you trudge along the same path. You have more strength and mobility than people give you credit for. Will a change in direction help you? Probably. Will remembering where you've been guided and how you've been supported in the past be helpful? Abso-fucking-lutely. Fucking listen. Anyway, thanks for joining me today.